Hello, everybody, and welcome to In the Doll World. I am your host, Georgette Taylor, along with my amazing co-host over there, well, in there, Tammy Fisher.
Yeah, Tammy.
Hey, Tammy, and we are so honored today to have an amazing
Definitely.
guest for our show. It is Karen Germany. She is now currently the owner of Vintage Design, but she was former owner of KVK Inc. And also the creator of Daddy's Long Legs. So we just want to welcome you to the show and thank you so much for joining us here in the Doll World, Karen. So
It's
excited to
my
have you.
pleasure. Thank you. It's my pleasure.
We're going to get started with, like we normally do, with talking about your journey in creating Daddy's Long Legs, which has been a huge success, and it is a huge collectible item within the doll community, and people love your creations. And so I just want to talk to you about how you got started doing that, and then we'll talk a little bit about later on how we connected because we have a personal journey together as well. But tell
Right.
us how you started with Daddy's Long Legs.
We had our company, KVK Inc., as you mentioned, and we started that in 1985. And about 89, we created some dolls that were very popular in the country world. Country was really, really hot during the late 80s and early 90s. So we created some animal dolls. And when during the first issue, I guess you could say, the first introduction, we did a African American woman. Her name was Nettie, and so the response to that was so positive that the next season we gave her a husband and a child. That was Tobias and Junior. So those were our first three in the collection, and then the rest is the journey that we took.
So you said they were so popular. Was it because there just weren't any dolls out there like that, or people hadn't seen dolls like that before? You know, the type of dolls that you do, and maybe talk a little bit about the type of doll that Daddy's Long Legs is.
Okay.
So,
When we first introduced them, I do recall being at the Atlanta gift show, and we had the display of the animal dolls and Nettie, and I had a customer come in, and she said, and she was African American herself, and she came in. She said, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" And I said, "Sure." I didn't know what the response was
mhm.
going to be, and she said, "It's finally nice to see a beautiful black doll on the market."
Oh,
She said the
Wow.
character. She said the characteristics are so realistic, and she said, "I just want to say thank you." And so from there on, it gave me that positive response and the
hmm
inspiration to do more. And so we continued to add to the collection. And I think during the years that we produced them, I want to say that we produced probably over 200. I don't know the exact number, but there were a
Wow.
lot. And
mhm.
and about 93 is when they actually became collectible. And what we did, Sophie was actually Nettie's daughter. That's kind of, we created kind of a family of dolls. And so when we decided to retire Sophie, that's when we realized that the collectible market liked having some pieces that were retired. Then we
hmm
introduced limited editions. And the more we did, the more collectible they became. And we had both Caucasian collectors and
hmm
African American collectors collecting the collection nationwide.
Wow, that's so cool. Now, were you already an artist though before that? I mean, how did your art journey begin? Was that something that that you learned along the way, or something you went to school for?
Actually, I did not go to school for that. I was around my dad a lot, and he was very creative. And we actually, what I would do is come up with the idea, but we actually had different artists that
Mm,
sculpted for us and drew sketches. We had a master seamstress that I could just sketch off an outfit that I wanted her to do. And she could, I mean, put it together, pattern and all, for all the seamstresses. I think at the peak we had probably close to 98 seamstresses that sewed
wow.
the
Wow.
clothes for us. So we did it all there in South Lake, Texas, and
hmm
they were made literally one at a time.
Wow.
Wow. So were the dolls themselves were made in Texas too?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, all of the dolls were made in Texas, with the exception of one series, and we did a Swiftwater Bill series, and that was Swiftwater Bill was actually a relative, his name was a relative of my husband's, Brent. And so we kind of created the characters around the name Swiftwater Bill, and we embellished it a little bit, to say the least. But he was actually a gold prospector, and so we just kind of gave him a story and gave him a wife and a girlfriend. Oh, no, I shouldn't say that. We gave him a wife.
A wife and a girlfriend.
And a sister. Almost forgot the story.
That was funny.
Telling a new story. And then,
Yeah.
A new story about Swiftwater Bill. Okay.
Those were made in China.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that was the only one though, out of all the dolls.
Yeah, that was the only one. All the rest of them were made there in South Lake, Texas.
Wow.
okay.
That's
That's
pretty
great.
cool, Karen. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, the fact that they were made there, that really helped, I'm sure, with cost too, because we
Oh yeah.
know how
Oh, yeah.
expensive it is to go over to China or places like
Right.
that to get stuff
Yeah.
made. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
And of course, off of that, we also created other collections that were made in China. So, and we can
Mhm.
talk more about the other collections,
Mhm.
but the Daddy's Long Legs were all made in South Lake.
Hmm. And why did you, I want to know, why did you not give them bodies like at the bottom, because I know they were called like shelf sitters or something like that, where they would just hang off the mantle and legs would dangle.
Yeah, the
Where did
long
that come
legs.
about? Mhm.
And actually, that was kind of the collection that we started with at the animal dolls. And so we just gave them fabric legs. And when we created Nettie, we just gave her the portion that it was her bare feet, but her legs were still attached to the fabric. So the body was there. And of course, the first few of them that we did, Tobias and those were actually a wooden block. And so we expanded from that. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Okay.
Yeah.
So they were wooden blocks, and then eventually you created torsos, actual
Right.
torsos. Okay,
Right.
from that. Okay.
Mhm.
Very
Mhm.
cool.
I think one of the questions that people might have, I know you spoke about
Mhm.
the African-American lady came and she saw the dolls and was excited to see them. Do people ask you why you chose to do African-American and not Caucasian or whoever else? I mean, why African-American dolls?
Well, Tammy, what gave me that inspiration was just the comment from the lady, because I really hadn't had plans of expanding on the line until I got that positive remark from her. And I realized I have a lot of friends who are African American, and I know in the past that there was times that my friends would look for Black Santas, and there were really none on the market that looked
Yes.
good. I
Mhm.
mean, the coloration wasn't good. And so that's why we decided to start doing a Black Santa each year also. And those were very sought after. So we
Okay.
even had celebrities that were collecting those on a regular basis each year. And, I don't know if I'm allowed to mention their names, but Oprah's secretary would call us and order one every year.
Nice. That's nice.
That's nice. Very
nice.
nice.
Yeah, very nice. So you're saying really is that the African American, the Nettie was the first one you just created because you just wanted to
Right.
create an African American doll, and then it just became something that kind of took off because of the positive response that you had from her?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Because we still continue to do a few of the animals in the country style, but it just seemed like that Nettie was the one that sold the most. And so we just expanded and gave her a family. And then we did Oma Green after that. And she was the grandma. And so, I mean, it was funny. We finally, years later, we adopted the slogan, "The dolls, you know. And the reason we did that is because when I would go after we started retiring pieces, and then I began to do signing engagements at some of the stores, throughout the different states, some of our collectors would come in and I could hear them standing in line, waiting to have their dolls signed. And I could hear them say, "Oh, that one looks just like Mama Eva." They would start relating and telling, which family member this one looked like, which family. So I realized
so
too
funny.
that we were capturing a lot of the characteristics that our collectors could relate to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can certainly see that, because when I see them, it's like, oh, there's, you know,
Yeah.
the lady next door, my
yeah,
cousin,
exactly.
somebody,
Yeah.
your auntie.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
they look like your
And-
people.
And we never did dolls from a person until until Keisha. And I don't know if you're familiar with Keisha, the Mud Pie Angel,
Hmm.
but she,
Oh, yes.
I am.
okay, she was actually designed. We got permission from her big mama to she was raised by her grandmother. And so we got permission from Big Mama to sculpt a doll that looked like Keisha.
Okay.
And so that's the only one that we actually ever sculptured from someone, because we were always concerned that people would say, oh, that doesn't really look like her, or, you know, I think they didn't really capture her eyes. So we didn't want that those comments to or people being disappointed in anything that we did. Of course, everybody seemed to be supportive of what we were doing. And of course, Keisha was one of our little campers at Camp of the Hills. And again, I don't know if a lot of you are aware that Camp of the Hills is a Christian youth camp here in our area in the Texas Hill Country that ministers to inner city kids. And so Brent and I served on the board of directors for 18 years there at the camp. And part of the proceeds from a lot of our dolls, and especially during our conventions and the auctions that we had during the conventions, all of the proceeds would go to the camp. Okay. And so that was really that associate.
Nice. Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, when did you start creating the conventions for Daddy's Long Legs?
Well, actually, that was because of one of our dealers, and her name was Melinda Saunders. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She was from Maryland, I believe. And she used to have conventions for some of the collectibles that she sold there in her store. And so she sold a lot of the Daddy's Long Legs and was very supportive of our efforts of raising money for the kids and continuing the collection. And so she asked if she could host our first convention. Part of the proceeds from those dolls at that time went to the Camp of the Hills and to benefit the kids who were attending. And, you know, one of the good things about our relationship too is the fact that now that you have acquired the Daddy's Long Legs collections.
That's Georgette.
We're excited about the future of the direction that we're going to be assisting you in going, is the fact that you have agreed to that part of the proceeds from the collections that you now have acquired will go to different charities of your choice. And of course, we want to hear about them and know that we are helping support that.
Yes, thank you so much. I mean, I was going to get to us a little bit later, but I'm excited you brought that up because so my journey with Karen is that I actually worked for Karen at KVK. I don't even remember how long ago, Karen. I think when we first moved into Texas, which was probably about 2000, and I had met her previous to that through a friend of ours, Rochelle Brown. From she worked at a TV station that my husband got a job in, and she introduced me to Karen, and Karen was looking for somebody to work at her office at KVK, which is a family-owned business, and I got an opportunity to work there, and it was delightful. It was really beautiful just to see the coming together of the family and building that company. And everybody was involved there. Robin, your daughter, was involved in there, and so many people who worked in the back, like she said, that sewed and did all the dolls and the packing, and it was just amazing. And so 20 years forward, we came in contact again through another friend of ours via Tammy, and you were at the point where you really wanted to pass on your collection, and I'm just honored that that you chose me to do that, and I will definitely take care of them. So I'm excited about that.
Well, thank you, Georgette. You know, it was a God thing.
It totally was. It It totally was. Every time I think I'm going to be out of the doll game, as I call it, they just show up no matter what it is, whether it's my big beautiful dolls or whether it's now your doll. So it shows up, and I think I really got connected with you because of the big beautiful dolls, because I was just starting out with my own doll, and I know Rochelle had spoke to you about it, and so we got connected with them. But every time I think I'm out of the doll game, man, they just pull me back in. So I have agreed with the universe to accept all of that, and that's why we're doing in the doll world too. So it's full circle for me here. Honestly, it truly is. So thank you so much. Yeah, it is awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, okay, so let's get back to your story. And I wanted to just talk about how you started doing your conventions, because I know they were very popular, and I know you created cards for your conventions, and you did a lot of things, a lot of amazing things in your conventions. So I want to talk about the transition into that.
Okay. Well, it's so neat too, Georgette, and getting all this material ready for you to acquire the collections. It was down memory lane, because to go through those convention booklets and everything, it was just so awesome. And we had so many people involved in getting all of the materials together, and the dolls and the planning and everything. We were so blessed to have those conventions. As I mentioned before, Melinda Saunders actually hosted the first convention, and we were so excited about doing it, and just had so much fun. So we decided that we would do it every other year, because it was a huge undertaking. Okay. And we actually had to shut down the warehouse, our production and everything, to get ready for it. So we had it in 95, Melinda had it in 95, then we had it in 97, and then 99. So we had 3 conventions.
So you had 3. Okay. I'm thinking it was like every year. Okay. It was only
no
year. Okay.
We couldn't afford it, and to shut down the whole operation, to have it every year. And it was a lot of work, months and months in the making.
So the planning. How long were they? Were they like, was it a one-day convention or weekend convention?
No, it was a I think 3 days, because we had it, we would rent the hotels out at the airport, because we were there in Grapevine South Lake area, which was very near DFW Airport. So we would have a lot of the meetings and the workshops and all of that there at the convention, at the hotel. And we would have fundraisers, where we would do the auctions on Friday night. And we usually had a Western theme there, because everybody expected, if they're coming to Texas, they had to have, cowboys.
Hats, so, right.
Yeah. So we did that at the hotels and different facilities. And then we had a tour usually on Saturdays of the warehouse. And a lot of our collectors actually got to be involved in making their own doll. They got to purchase a doll that they helped make.
Oh, so cool. Nice.
The planning nice. Of it was just so much fun, and we had special dolls that were created for the convention. And Brent put together, some awesome material with pictures of all of our collectors. We had them dressing up in doll outfits. And if you ever have some of the convention books, those they really put it on the top shelf to dress up like the dolls. So nice. it was very much fun for us.
I didn't know they dressed up like the dolls, so that was cool. Yeah, and I didn't know that they were able to make their own dolls. So I thought that was really nice. Yeah.
Yes.
And get to see the process.
It was a process, and we just kept thinking of things that we could do that were different than everybody else's conventions. I never had been to one, but just getting feedback from other people and people said that they felt like that they had gone to a Christian youth camp, Because we tried to keep everything lively and fun, and like you were going to camp for the weekend. And then we had our service, our church service, basically. Nice. On Sunday mornings. And I don't know if you've read, Johnny Wilder was one of our guests one year, and he was one of the lead singers of the Heat Wave. Do you recall that?
Okay. Yeah.
That group, the Heat Wave. Mm-hmm. He sang Always and Forever.
Always and Forever. Yeah. Oh yes, I cannot ever forget that song.
That's my all-time favorite song.
They used to play that song so much that I honestly would get tired of it on the radio, because it was every time when I was growing up, that's the only song that would come on. I'm like, is that the only song they have? Is Always and Forever? I'm like, but it was really big and real popular, very
It
popular.
was.
Yeah.
It was a
Wow.
beautiful song.
Yeah, it
Yeah, I
is. But
think
when
so
you hear
too.
it, yeah,
They
it
also
is.
sang Boogie Nights, didn't they? Boogie Nights.
I
Did
think
they sing
so.
that
I think
one?
they did. I
Yeah.
think they did.
That was a
Yeah.
good one too.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Boy, reminiscing. That's crazy.
I
All right.
know.
Yes.
Memory lane, memory lane.
Oh goodness. So when you so after you did your when I don't know what I want to ask you. When did the other types of dolls come in? When did the Daddy's Babies come in and the ABC Babies? When did those
Ooh,
come in?
I knew you were going to ask me some questions that I couldn't remember the date. Uh,
No, but around what time? I mean,
I'm
general
trying to
like.
think. Let's see. Because, wow, 2000, it had to be in the late 1990s. And the reason being is that I quit traveling to China after 9/11. I made one trip after 9/11 to China, and the efforts, I mean, all the security and everything that was necessary, I just said, this is it. I can't do this anymore. So I know it was in the late 90s because we had the Daddy's Babies. We had the Daddy's, actually before the babies, we had the Daddy's Keepsakes and Figurines.
Keepsakes and Figurines. Okay,
Yeah,
they
so we
came
did,
before. That's right. Yes.
yeah, we did the
Yes.
county fair of that collection, and then we kind of expanded on that with different professions and whatnot, and still had the fabric legs. So it was kind of a takeoff of the Daddy's long legs to do the figurines, because after you fill up all of your shelves in your house, you wonder, okay, do I have room for one more doll? And I'm sure y'all can relate to that.
Yes. Terry is the collector here, so
Yeah.
you can't have one more doll in her house. So has been said. So there we go. Man, I remember the Daddy's Babies though. I think when I came in to start working with you, they were.
Yeah.
I think you had just started designing them, or you were in the process of still designing more, so they were already there.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
when I came.
Probably so.
Yeah. Because I think I remember going into the office one day. We were trying to figure out a name for one of them, and I think I said, "Oh, that he looks like my son Corey."
Corey.
And then I turned around and you had a Daddy's Baby named Corey, so I was so excited about that. He's sitting on my shelf. You can't see him. He's sitting on my shelf all the time.
That's pretty cool.
I do remember that. And in his hands, did that come along in the same like time frame?
That was after 9/11 because I was just so distraught over, everything that I came up with the idea for in his hands. And my first one was Let Go, Let God. And because I just couldn't get past all of the depression, I guess you could say, for all of that. And so I thought, that's just perfect for that collection. So we expanded on that.
I love them. They're so cute.
Thank you.
I've opened up a few of them, well, a lot of them since I've gotten them, and they're just so cute. They're just so cute.
I've got some of my favorites.
Yeah, me too. I really do. I really do have a lot of my favorites too. So I'm excited about that. So when did you decide not to do Daddies anymore? Then you decide to
end it?
Yeah.
Like in selling or in what making?
Yeah, into making your dolls and in selling them, because I don't know if that was hand in hand.
Pretty much, yeah, because after 9/11, things just weren't the same. The collectible industry had begun to decline. Beanie Babies were like the rage. Everybody, even people who owed us for the dolls were spending the money that they owed us on, getting Beanie Babies from the UPS driver, So it was like, okay, now what do we do? Because you can't compete with something like that when you've got a quality and not that Beanie Babies isn't quality, but to have a quality collection like the Daddy's Long Legs and all of the characters that we created and the other collections that we did, it was just, I don't know, it was just bizarre the way the collectible industry was affected by all the Beanie Babies and after 9/11. So we began to think about we were still involved with the camp, and we were thinking about retiring. And so we just decided that it was time for us to retire, rather than me trying to struggle to come up with, another collection, another collection, another collection,
Right.
when the collectibles as a whole was not doing as well as what it had in the past.
Okay.
So it was kind of neck and neck.
Neck and neck. Okay, in that
Yeah.
sense. Okay, but then they were revised, weren't they? Eventually, they did
Well,
start coming back out. Maybe not
Yeah.
your designs, but I guess the dolls kind of, it was like a resurgence of them.
Oh yeah, yeah. In fact, we
secondary
found
market?
we found over the years that that kind of, the ebb and flow of things, because where we had retired some pieces, and then as the transition was made for our retirement, what we had done, one of our reps had acquired the dolls, the collection, and we were in hopes that he would continue to produce them. We had given him our contacts in China to have the figurines and everything made, and
Okay.
I had continued to design some new pieces, but it just seemed, those were our babies, and I don't know how else to put it. When you're creating something, you want somebody else to take over and continue creating them, but it's just not the same in the collector's eyes. So
Right.
that's why I'm so glad that you're taking the collection. It's not like you're trying to, continue them, and who knows what God has in store for us in the future, Georgette. But but the fact that you've acquired the collections now, and the secondary market is still there.
Yes.
And I think there's going to be a resurgence of not only the Daddy's long legs, but a lot of the other collectibles in the market, because I think people are home now. And, there's a lot of good things that have come out of this virus, the coronavirus pandemic, because I think people have found different values now of staying at home and spending time with family, and collecting some of the things that they wanted to collect before, but now have time to do it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think there's positives that come out of that.
I think so. And Tammy definitely could speak to that. I think, she is still definitely very much entrenched in the collectible market, and in doll collectors and what's happening, happening now as opposed to what was happening, even a year and a half ago. So, so what have you seen in that, Tammy, about the resurgence of people purchasing dolls in general?
That's what I'm hearing. People are purchasing dolls, and we're seeing new dolls being made, like Mike Buse and his Fabiola. He's releasing them in 20s, and those dolls are selling within hours. They're moving.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing that from other people, that there are a number of people who their dolls are selling.
Yeah.
And this is a good time for doll collectors, that's what I'm hearing and seeing.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing some prices rise on some of the dolls. And it's really interesting. I don't know, like Doug James's dolls are going up in value. They've gone up in value recently. I don't know if that's from the show, because we interviewed Doug, or if, because I think that one of the things that happens with these shows is when people come in and they talk about what they did, and about, how many, like Doug released like 25 of this one doll. And so if you're truly a collector, those, small numbers.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
There's only 25, and whether you have 1 or 7 or 25, there's only 25. So I've seen, just from looking around and seeing what's happening with dolls, I'm seeing prices rise. And again, I don't know how much of it is people being introduced to the dolls through the show, people being at home because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing that, I've seen some collectible Barbies. I know that Adler, the Barbie, the Jonathan Adler doll collection is rising in value. But and I know things rise at Christmas too, but I've just been hearing throughout the pandemic that people are saying that their dolls are selling, for a lot of people, they're selling better. And, it's like, how do we figure out, for those who are used to being out, like we just interviewed Doreen Lawrence, she tends to sell dolls at, events. So how do you sell dolls to the public when you, I mean, through online, you know,
Right,
so,
right.
so
And make
people are
it just
learning how to,
as,
doing things online, and they're doing the online conventions. You
that's
know, we
true. They are.
sponsored, we co-sponsored one of the conventions. So there's just a lot of, you know,
Yeah,
people are learning.
there's still a lot of opportunities to purchase dolls,
Yes.
and still a lot of ways and really creative ways that people are
Mm-hmm.
doing that to keep, you know, to keep dolls in the forefront of the people, like you said, who are at home doing, you know what I
Yes.
mean, who are at home, who really find it important to connect with something, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And for people, I mean, dolls are collected. For me, they make me feel better. And so
Right.
you're talking about 9/11 and those kinds of things and the pandemic.
Mhm.
I can imagine that there are a number of people who may have never collected, or, you know, people who are collecting, who there's this, dolls, it's like they touch your heart. So I can imagine more people just buying dolls just because they make them feel better. They make them happy. They bring back memories from their childhood.
yeah.
And I think that may be part of what's going on too.
Yeah. And it's so
I have to
go
add
ahead.
something here too,
Mhm.
Georgette and Tammy. Brent told some of our collectors at one of the conventions, he said that he had read an article on someone who collects, and they consider
Mhm.
anyone who has two or more of one item is considered a collector. And he said, but the
Wow.
thing about it is the research has also determined that anyone who collects lives on an average of 10 years longer than someone who doesn't collect.
Wow. Really?
And so the
I need to go get
one
some more dolls.
yeah, one of our collectors says, well, did the article say why? And he said, no, it didn't say why. And she said, well, I know. She said, it's because we don't want to leave what we've got.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that's true.
beautiful.
That is true.
Yeah.
Wow. It gives them
That's
purpose,
beautiful.
right? It gives them
Yeah,
purpose.
Yeah.
I think
exactly.
anytime you have purpose, right? Then you
Yeah.
know, I
Exactly.
think you tend to live longer because you have a purpose for something,
Yeah.
you know? So
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
that's cool. That's really cool. And I think, you know, we were just when you were talking, Tammy, about how it connects you back to something that makes
Mhm.
you feel good. And it kind of made me think about when Karen was talking about when the woman walked up to her and told her that, you know, thank you for doing this doll, because and
Mhm.
even all the people in the hallway gathering talking about how much that doll looked like somebody that they knew back, you know what I
Right.
mean, from years ago, or their aunt or things like that. And I think anything that connects you to something that feels good when it comes to your family and reminds you, you know, of the
Mhm.
of just, and it just gives you the warm and fuzzies, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I think your dolls do that a lot
Mhm.
because of the time frame that they're created into.
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
it brings back that feeling of you know, a little bit of what is that?
Nostalgia.
Yeah, nostalgia. That's what I was trying
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
say. Yeah, nostalgia.
Yeah.
It
Mhm.
really does, you know.
And I
So
think their features also. I mean, it's
mhm,
I
very
I
realistic
like that,
though.
like the dolls, a lot of the dolls are not smooth.
Mm-hmm.
They're and I think that there's something about that makes them feel
So much more
like
authentic.
somebody made it for me. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, you know, a lot of the times, like when you see mass-produced dolls, they're so smooth. And not that there's a
Right.
bad thing with that, because I got lots of mass-produced dolls,
Yeah.
but they feel like they came out of a mold. And I
Yeah.
know that your dolls came out of a mold too, but there's a distance there.
Yeah.
Whereas
Well,
with
I
your
think
dolls,
there's
they tend
definitely
to,
more texture to them.
yeah, they
Yeah.
look almost like they were like
Carved.
carved
Yeah.
out of wood or something. They've got, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that texture. Yeah, I
That's
like
what I
that
love
about them.
about that. I love about
Yes,
that too. And I remember
yes.
I remember taking a couple of them out, you know, to take pictures of, and I was just really, you know, I think I was really taken aback, honestly, like she was saying about the beauty of them when I looked at them up close.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, she's so pretty. Like you have like I'm gonna talk about one of them, like Marquise. It's a
Oh
beautiful
yes, she's
doll.
Oh yeah.
gorgeous.
Oh my,
Yes.
I opened it up and I had to unwrap because you have paper around her face. So I had to
Yeah.
unwrap the paper. And when I saw her, I was like, she is
Wow.
gorgeous. Like her
Yeah,
face is
she is
just so
really.
beautiful. and her hairdo was great. I mean, I mean, I've been opening them up and just having a ball because they are just been so so fabulous. So yeah,
That's awesome.
that's pretty cool. So you so eventually you stopped making dolls. You know what I wanted to ask you? Have you ever made customized dolls for anybody through your daddy's
Yes.
long legs?
Yes. Actually, it didn't. Let's see. Are you familiar with Wally Amos, the famous Amos cookies?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. We actually, it's a long story, but I was on one of my signing engagements, and he was on a some show program on a Sunday morning. And what he had to say was just so inspirational. Well, I just felt like God was telling me, you need to contact this man. Well, he lived in Hawaii. And so when I decide to do something, I'm determined. And so I did everything I could to reach him, and finally got a phone call back from him one day. And we wound up, he came to the States, mainland, and we actually met up. His son was in Dallas. And so we met up and got to talking, and had him sign my, the books that he had written and stuff. And we actually talked to him. Actually, I still have the original.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's called Watermelon Man, because that was what he was known for, is to wearing those shirts with watermelons.
The watermelons on, yeah.
Yeah. So I've still got the original.
Wow.
So you created a doll in his image called the Watermelon Man.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Very cool. And she has the original. That's awesome.
That is. That's really
That is
cool.
so cool. So I know you're not doing Daddy's long legs anymore. What are you doing now as Karen Germany? What does Karen Germany do now?
Well, I love the creative part of it, of anything. And so Brent and I, we have our store, this Vintage Designs, and we have a Facebook page, but I don't do a whole lot on that. I love the creativity of creating product. And so what we're doing now is Brent, we reclaimed a lot of old wood. And so he loves the longleaf pine that's, almost extinct. And so he loves building farm tables and that type of thing.
Oh, nice.
I love the decorating aspect of it. So I help customers. I do free consulting with customers that when they're moving into a home and wanting help doing their decorating or the staging, then I do it for free, because I just like helping
That's
them.
nice, Karen.
And so we get down in our workshop and we make things. I do candle holders and out of old wood, and we're still designing things for the store, but it's more on just a few here and a few there, nothing mass produced, because we're getting to an age now that we can't lift it.
You got to be able to carry your product from one place to another. Right?
Exactly. What's the name of your store again?
It's Vintage Designs, and
Vintage
it's in
Designs.
Burnet, Texas. Burnet. You got to say it.
Burnet.
Burn it. Burnet, Texas. Yes, Burnet.
Yeah,
Texas.
Burnet,
That's
Texas.
so funny.
And may people buy your items online too?
No, we don't really sell online because
just through the store. Okay.
Yeah, just through the store.
Okay.
Brent said he didn't want to get back into the shipping aspect, so.
Oh,
yeah.
I said that to Karen, but
those of us who have to ship, yeah.
Guess what, Georgette?
Not the sexy part.
Not the sexy part at all. But no, it is sexy. You have to look at it being sexy, because if it's shipping out, that means somebody's buying it. So I'm going to look at it a different way.
And how many items do you have in your storage area now?
A lot. About 100. I think it's about 150 dolls, right?
Yeah, there's
Daddy's dolls, and then the babies and the keepsakes and the keepsake figurines and in his hand. So it's quite a few. Yeah. So
don't you have some of the top of the world also, those ornaments?
Yes, the ornaments.
Oh,
yes, they're so cute.
I love those.
Yeah, they're so cute.
Yeah,
I have some of those too. So yeah. I'm excited. Let me ask you this question. When you started your journey on Daddy's, what has been the most, I guess, surprising thing about about creating those dolls and being in that space? What has been the most, yeah, surprising thing that has come out of that for you?
I don't know about the most surprising. I think the most rewarding thing is the relationships with the collectors.
Yeah.
To me, you know, I remember going to one signing event that there was a collector there that she was just, you know, gaga. You know, she was just over the top impressed with, you know, everything that was going on, and she was just so excited to meet me. And I looked at her and I said, "Wait a minute. You're the one spending money." I'm excited to meet you. Yeah, because you're the one who's collecting them. And so that's why I just felt so honored that we were creating something that people wanted.
Yeah.
And I remember Melinda taking me, we were at a show, because like I said, she was a retailer. And so we were at a show one time, and I think it was in South Bend, Indiana. And we went around shopping together, and she was looking for Black Santas. And I mentioned this earlier, but she said, "Karen, it's just so hard to find, you know, good Black Santas, because," she said, "they either have orange skin when they produce, or, you know, or yellow." She said, it just doesn't look natural." And so that's why I think I was surprised too by the response that people had from our collection of the different characters. And of course we gave so many of them different skin tones, because I think through the research we were talking about how many different skin tones there are among the African American population. And when we first started, we only gave, you know, Tobias, Nettie, and Junior the same skin tone. And we were asked by actually a celebrity that went into one of the stores to buy some dolls. And he said, "Can you talk to the manufacturers about making different skin tones?" And that's when we began doing the different skin tones of the collection. So
that's great. I mean, I think that's great too. I think because you took their responses, right, and their, you know, desires to want to have something that represented more of what they look like, what African Americans look like, and you took that and you created something. You know what I mean? It wasn't a fight about it. You know what I mean? It wasn't saying, "Oh, well, this is what, you know, this is what they buy. This is anything like that." It was like accepted, and you said, "Well, I'm gonna turn around and give them what they what they're looking for, you know, and honor that." And that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one of those conversations that we have. I mean, we've had multiple times. And how, excuse me, how do you respond to that? And there are people who say, "I have the ability to do that, and I can do that." And there are other people who say, "I'm such a small company that I can't meet all of those. So I'm doing this, and then and then maybe as I get bigger, I will do that." And I have to look at it over time and see how that fits into what I'm able to do. And I think that part of being able, one of the blessings about being able to do the dolls here, you know, in America, is it gives you more control.
More control. Yes. Definitely.
Yes.
Because it's not easy. And, you know, it's not an easy thing. And, you know, y'all probably know that, but it's, you know, you have challenges. I remember one time that we had gotten all of our dolls painted, and the sealer that we put over it to the final coat, it was on a real humid day, and they all turned chalky. And oh my gracious, we had to start all over.
How many dolls were there? How many dolls were there that you
a
had
lot.
She's like, a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Oh my
and you
God.
know, even in the process of signing the dolls, because you know, a lot of our limited edition, I signed all of them.
Yes.
And so with me traveling so much, because sometimes I had to travel to China for other product, but when the dolls kept, you know, having to be made there in South Lake, they would literally bring me trays of the legs, because they knew they were going to have to produce them while I was gone. So they would bring me trays of legs. And there were some days that I would sit in a chair and sign my name 1,000 times, literally 1,000 times.
Wow.
And so, you know, to have to do that. Of course, I usually had my puppy dog sitting beside me, so it wasn't any big deal.
You wouldn't even know that, Karen, because I'm telling you, all the signatures are so beautiful.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Honestly,
Yeah,
they really are.
Yes.
And I noticed they had a little star at the end. I was like, how does she do that little star like that all the time? So cute.
yeah.
So crazy.
And do you
Yeah.
know the thing about the star? Because the star was part of our logo. And so I don't
Okay.
know if you're aware or if your collectors are aware, but each doll has a star somewhere on it.
On their clothes.
Not on their clothes, not my signature, but because the signature is different little thing, tidbits kind of changed over the years, but the dolls, each one has always had a star somewhere on it, but you have to look for it.
Where did the
Oh,
star
that's
come
cool.
from?
Do what?
Where did the star come from? Like, I mean, what was the?
I've collected 5-pointed stars because it's a Texas star. I've collected that for years and years. And so I've always, I even found, this is crazy. I even found a little, those pin cushions that look like tomatoes.
Yes.
My mom had one and it had all these little sections on it. And I had taken straight pins when I was little and I had done Karen, Karen in those sections. And I had one section left. So I did a star out of straight pins in this little tomato pin cushion. And that was when I was little.
Oh, when you found it. Oh. So, a star is always in your rising. Is that what it was? Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. That's very nice. Wow, Karen. Well, I mean, your journey has been amazing. And I'm just really, I'm just honored to have you on the show. I'm so glad that you said yes to us and
Yes.
to talk about your journey, about the Daddy's Long Legs, because I mean they are very historical and you've done amazing work and people really appreciate the work and the dolls, and I'm so honored to be the recipient of that collection. I just want to say that to you. So
well, thank you, Georgette, and it's all to be continued because I want to know more about what your plans are and how the collectors that I come in contact with can contact you.
Yes,
so
definitely.
when that becomes available and how we can send those collectors to you now, then I want to know everything there is to know.
Okay, well, thank you.
All
Terry,
right.
anything else you have to say to Karen? I want to ask anything else?
Well, I just want to make it clear that you will be keeping some of the dolls, but you are also selling.
Yes.
Some. I mean, you didn't buy 200 dolls to add to your collection. You didn't do a Tammy. So
no, I didn't do a Tammy. We didn't do a Tammy. No, they are all for sale.
So I wanted.
I think there's one or two that I'm keeping, but the majority of them, yes, will be open to any collector out there who wants them. And all they got to do also is they can contact me, and we'll talk about this later. But they can contact me and find out even what I have available. So they'll know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So are you going to put that on In the Doll World on our Facebook page?
Yes.
Okay.
Put it on Facebook page.
So if you are listening to this, you can check our In the Doll World page and see what Georgette's doing with the dolls. And I will also be selling some dolls too. So you'll be seeing some updates on the Facebook page and probably on our Instagram and our other social media about what's going on.
Yep.
And
also,
Georgette,
I was just going to ask Georgette if you ever have collectors who want to know if there's a story behind something or a little bit more information. I'll do my best to provide that for you. If you just keep it connected, or if you may want to have if you introduce the dolls on your Facebook page or your website or whatever, if you want to have a question and answer thing, I'd be glad to help if there is, if that does come up, or if it is a
that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say thank you so much, Karen, for being on In the Doll World with Tammy and I, and we really appreciate you sharing your story about your journey on with Daddy's Long Legs, and want to say thank you again for giving us such amazing dolls. Thank you again,
Most definitely. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you to y'all. Thank you. Appreciate y'all. And it's been a pleasure being on here with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to have you.
Yes.